Today we're going to talk about future boardrooms, because the future boardrooms are going to look like that. They'll have a robot in there for sure, an AI-driven robot. It'll be gender balanced, and it'll be much, much younger. Those are the key drivers of the future, and that's why we have three young people here who are our potential board members for the future. The first on our left is Aya Sadar. She's the Incubator Manager for Intelak. She's a super bright young person. Seen her developing and evolving over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and highly respectful to the kind of achievements that she's had.
I actually studied entrepreneurship at Babson. And,
so you went straight through.
And I actually ended up changing careers.
Okay, what's next for you? What's your master's degree, and how do you take things forward for yourself?
I believe I actually will not do my master's,
okay.
nor my MBA.
Okay.
Neither of those would make so much sense for me, since I teach entrepreneurship. I work with some of the brightest minds.
Okay.
So I feel like every day is an MBA, to be honest. So getting one might be a waste of money.
And also the MBA, I'm just saying administration. Who cares about administration anymore? It should really be about management of business thinking, an MBT, or management of business intelligence, an MBI. Those are the kinds of new degrees. And actually, one of the things I spoke about here was the kind of new degrees that we're going to have. So the next degree that you might consider become an astronomer or a quantum physicist or a bioethicist or bioengineering. So you've done entrepreneurship, you understand business, but if you combine that with that, how does that look for you? Is that of interest for you?
Definitely. So I work for the Emirates Group, GE, and Dubai Tourism. So in each one of these industries, you're sort of confronted with newer challenges happening. Let's say if you take aviation. Yeah. By itself, I know maybe 20% of what I'm capable of knowing. So pursuing that in more depth is definitely of interest. One
of the things that we are working on is what I call the 60-40-20 rule. The 60-year-olds are making decisions for 40-year-olds to execute, and 20-year-olds, people here, to consume. In this environment, what do you think the kind of contribution you can make to a board?
I'll give an example, actually. Sure. So we had, GE had a software called Predix. I don't know if many of you are familiar with it. It's sort of like the IBM Watson. I had a startup called Dubes, delivering your bags to the airport, and they were managing most of their baggage delivery on a tech platform. So they had met the Predix team, and then they said, we're not interested. So that exact user insight, we used it for the guys who are 65 years old in the States to understand what's the usability of their actual tech platform. That way you get fast response on what's happening, and you're able to comprehend how people can actually use this product. Using that, they can actually, let's say, edit the future, right? So if you get people to use your product and understanding that they were your demographic, their feedback is the most valuable thing when you're trying to develop a successful one.
I would like to add on to that. I mean, if a company like GE is applying the methodology of the fact that you need to develop the product in a complete suite of applications and then take it to market, I don't think that is a lean approach at all. And I think that a leaner approach to kind of launching products with a similar sort of a beta version, getting feedback, developing it further, getting more feedback, and developing it further so that you can actually understand exactly what the consumer wants, rather than developing something completely, taking it to market, and then you're in a situation where you're not really sure what applies or what doesn't apply. So I'll
add on really quick, just to support my company. But today GE exists in that fashion. Yeah. In the future, their boardroom will look a little bit different. I mean, they've let me come into some of these meetings.
You're working for three monster large corporations. What kind of internal resistance do you feel that you receive when you go up that way? Because part of our thesis is that you should be the board. Yeah. These should be the kind of thing, and they should be parallel boards. And you report about strategy, about product, about technology, and about user experience. And these guys look at compliance and finance and perhaps things of that nature. What kind of resistance did you get, if any?
Definitely, being quite young. I'm very ambitious and I'm very assertive. So if I want something to happen, I usually try to bring reason and explanation and understanding to the board. Everybody has an opinion, and a lot of people bring in excellent perspectives, so you should never discount your seniors. You should always try to understand where they're coming from. Once you do that and you build their trust through first burning your fingers, you have to be fast, right? So you have to, unfortunately, ask for forgiveness a lot. Once they see that the product, the value is there, and you're explaining to them in terms of your KPIs, what you set when you started out, they start to build an understanding, appreciation, and then trust for what you're trying to do. Now, I've been allowed to sit in the presence of some of the most senior people in my company, all the way up to the COO, and they have put me on more projects, right? But I built that through time, I built that through trust and through an explanation of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter what age you are, and I say this to all the entrepreneurs that graduated from Babson, who started their own companies at as young as 17 years old. If you explain your age, then you're already at a loss. So you have to really understand the value you bring to the table,
Yeah.
know when to speak, know when to stay silent as well,
Yeah.
super important, and always take notes. So that's sort of, that's my principle. I believe in future boardrooms, including younger people. I believe that the answer is with the next generation. So I personally mentor a lot of young students because I believe they will be at the forefront of change more than I will be.
Are you mentoring the older ones? You should be.
No.
No? Right. That actually is the big shift. And I think that is where the mutual mentoring comes in. You mentor the older ones, they'll mentor you. You mentor them for technology, users, and experience and so on, and they will mentor you for context and experience. And I think that is part of the solution we have. Thank you for coming, and big hand for these young people.
Thank you.